Okay, so in this short video, we want to give an overview of the direct stiffness method analysis procedure as it applies to beam and frame structures. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is calculate the local stiffness matrix for each element. Now the local stiffness matrix for each element is given by this matrix here. Now we've looked at the origins of this matrix and we've derived it. So we need to determine or calculate this matrix for each member within our structure. And the important thing to remember here is that this is the local stiffness matrix. We're not yet taking into account the orientation of the member. So that's the next step. In the next step, we want to convert that local element stiffness matrix into a global reference frame using this transformation matrix. And again, we've looked at deriving this transformation matrix so we understand its origins. So again, this just captures the orientation of the member within our structure. So in order to turn the local stiffness matrix into a global stiffness matrix for that member, we simply multiply by T transpose and then post multiply by T again here, as we see in the equation on the bottom here. So once we're that far, we can build the primary stiffness matrix for the structure. Remember, the whole point of getting our element stiffness matrices into a common global reference frame is so that we can combine them together seamlessly into a primary stiffness matrix. Now, this primary stiffness matrix, it doesn't take into account the support conditions yet, and it just models how the elements relate to each other within the structure. So the primary stiffness matrix is an n by n matrix where n is the number of degrees of freedom in our structure. Now remember, we're typically going to have 3 degrees of freedom at each node, and so whatever number of nodes you have, multiplied by 3 and you get the size of the primary stiffness matrix. Then we impose the influence of our support conditions on the primary stiffness matrix in order to get what we call the structure stiffness matrix. Now this is your complete model of your structure, because not only does it capture how elements within the structure tie together and relate together, connect together, but it also takes into account the influence of support conditions. And we do that with a fairly methodical process of applying or imposing ones and zeros throughout our primary stiffness matrix to end up with a reduced size structure stiffness matrix. And again, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about exactly what we do in an upcoming video in this section. So after that, a lot of the hard work is done from our point of view. We then need to solve for our unknown nodal displacements. Now in order to do this, this is where the computer steps in and starts doing more of the hard work for us, because in order to determine our nodal displacements, the green U vector shown here, we need to invert that structure stiffness matrix. And so as I say here, this is where the really expensive, computationally expensive part or computationally intensive part of this solution process comes in, and it's what makes it not a very suitable analysis procedure to carry out by hand. It's this process of inverting the matrix, and it's quite a computationally expensive process. Nevertheless, it takes very little time for the computer to do it. So once we set it up in the computer, it will process that inversion, and we can get our nodal displacements out relatively easily actually. Once we have our nodal displacements, we can multiply those nodal displacements by the primary stiffness matrix now to find our reaction forces. Then we can go ahead and use those nodal displacements to determine the member axial forces. So this is relatively straightforward because it's all based on this very simple equation here. Force is equal to stiffness times displacement. So the force in a member between nodes I and J is simply the stiffness of that member times the change in length of that member, which is basically just the difference of the nodal displacements at each end of the member. So these are the local nodal displacements. Moving on from there, we can use the displacements and rotations to determine the member moments and shears. So what I've got on screen here is basically the full force displacement relationship for a beam element. So we've got the local forces on the left equal to the local stiffness matrix times the local displacements. Now, if I want to know, remember I know what my displacements on the right hand side here are. I might need to transform them back into local coordinates, but I know what they are. So if I want to, for example, find the moment at member or at end I of the member, I'd simply process the relevant equation from this set of matrix equations. And so you can see it here. Actually calculating the moment is a relatively straightforward process once I know what the displacements and rotations are at each end of my member. And again, we're going to see that in this example in this section. So to summarize then, The process is relatively simple. We calculate the local stiffness matrix for each element. We take that local stiffness matrix for each element and we convert it into a global reference frame, and we use our transformation matrix to do that. We can then build a primary stiffness matrix because all of our element stiffness matrices are in one common global reference frame. We can then impose the influence of support conditions on our structure, and that gives us the structure stiffness matrix. We can solve for our unknown nodal displacements. We can substitute those back into calculate the reaction forces, and then use nodal displacements to determine member forces, and use nodal displacements and rotations to determine member moments and shears. So that's the process. That's a summary of the process. We'll see now through an example how it actually all comes together. And we can use it to analyze a relatively simple structure to kick things off. So we'll pick that one up in the next video.